This is like the first time that I've done like a kit when it's actually been released. Hey guys, it's Moeller making time, and of course we're looking at the F-35 starter kit from Airfix. I was absolutely shook when Airfix announced this kit, mainly because it's such a new aircraft and it's a starter set, meaning it has simplified construction, perfect for newcomers to the hobby, and also fantastic if you want a quick, easy weekend build, or even after work sometimes. Having grown up watching the development of this aircraft, I've always wanted to build one, and hey, this is the perfect opportunity. This kit is brand new, honeys, but we're not going to ignore what we normally do. We'll still have a look at the history of the aircraft itself, we'll have a look at the aircraft in gaming, and we'll look at the history of the kit, or as I call it, the Kitstory. After that, we'll get into the full unboxing experience, and we'll look at the construction and glow up of the aircraft itself to see it pop off. I have such fond memories of this plane. Now, back when I was a kid, we didn't have satellite or cable, and my grandma did, so when we went to visit her, I got access to Discovery Channel, Discovery Wings later on. I remember sitting in the living room, you know, with my grandma just walking through while she was making dinner and watching this documentary about the JSF, this Joint Strike Fighter competition between the X-32 from Boeing and the X-35 from Lockheed Martin. And it's sort of always stuck with me, and now I get to make that aircraft, and it's so exciting. But before we go into a full history, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you're new here, I release new videos every Monday, and well, it tends to be about the history of some plane or tank or something, and then I do a full build of it. I try and avoid just doing an unboxing on its own and try and do a whole review of the whole experience to make sure that you get the best understanding of what can happen. I view myself very much as the novice modeler, not a professional by any stretch of the imagination. But I have fun with what I do, and I really want to show that you don't have to be amazing, you just have to please yourself. Right, let's get into the history of the F-35. So the idea of a joint aircraft between sort of multiple branches of the United States military originally came about in the early 1990s. This was when there was a view that there would be a death spiral in spending, where getting aircraft developed for the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, having all those separate things developed was going to take up a lot of resources and become very, very costly. So the idea was to have one aircraft that could fulfill all those purposes, or at least have variations to fulfill those purposes. Now, you've got to think, this was replacing a lot of really amazing legacy aircraft. The F-16, the F-18, and also the Harrier of the Marine Corps. So it has a lot to live up to. And later on, the United Kingdom would join the program in order to sort of simplify their own armed forces. But of course, this also meant it was a much more lucrative contract than it already was for the biggest spender, I think, in military spending in the world. Now it was an international affair to boot. So during 1994 and 1995, there were 4 companies involved in the competition. This was Northrop, McDonnell Douglas, Boeing, and Lockheed. Now, everyone had assumed that some of those would go through to the final. I think from the sources I read, 3 were meant to go through: McDonnell Douglas, Boeing, and Lockheed Martin. However, McDonnell Douglas never got through, and actually it was the death knell for them. They were ultimately acquired by Boeing as part of this competition as well, which is mad. McDonnell Douglas has such a pedigree where... Come on, tell me about the Boeing fighters that you know of. Yeah, ones they didn't acquire? Yeah. So it was a real shock to the aviation industry to see a titan like McDonnell Douglas fall to Boeing, who didn't really have that much in the way of fighter experience. I mean, relative to the other players in the game. Now, it was 1997 by the time that Boeing and Lockheed Martin had been announced as the winners of the competition, in the sense that they could both develop, you know, further, get a prototype, and they would be competing for the actual contract. At this time, other countries had already signed up. Now, the UK, as the original partner, was the only Tier 1 partner, so everyone else was Tier 2 or below. So this included Italy, the Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, Canada, Australia, and Turkey. Obviously, due to modern geopolitics, Turkey is no longer a part of the program, but originally was going to have one. In fact, PM Models even released a model kit of the F-35 in Turkish service, so it really was something that was expected to happen, but obviously is never fated to be, at least at the moment. Competition was fierce, and both companies took a very different approach. The X-32 from Boeing had a very traditional system, I mean, there are many aircraft that have been really successful with vertical takeoff and landing, but Boeing used an approach similar to the Harrier with thrust vectoring nozzles, whereas Lockheed took a very different approach, having a lift fan embedded into the centre, sort of the forward centre of the aircraft, and then having the actual rear thrust being directable, so it could just like point entirely downwards, as you'll see in the kit that we're looking at later. It's really weird to think of. I always thought the X-32 looked so futuristic and modern, but now I look at them as an adult and many years later, I can't help but think the X-32 looks kind of goofy. I mean, now I guess I kind of think the F-35 is like a hybrid of the F-16 and F-22. Kind of like if both of them had a child together. Now, the X-32's traditional style system for using vertical takeoff and landing or short takeoff and landing actually was its downfall. It was nowhere near as robust as the X-35's was. The F-35, or the X-35 as it was at the time, didn't really have any issues at sort of taking off, transitioning to supersonic flight, and then carrying on, whereas they found the X-32, sometimes it had to meet really certain conditions. It actually had to fly to a different base at one point in order to actually complete these trials, which again does not show the diversity that you'd really want from a modern, all-round fighter that's designed to, you know, fight on every single front. So following the suffering and testing, the X-32 was out, the X-35 was in. And with a break from tradition, instead of following up in the numeric system that the Air Force's fighters had gone for throughout the years, this aircraft was just translated from the X-35 to the F-35 that we know and, well, sort of love today, depending on who you ask. So the F-35 is the victor, but we all know that this program has been plagued with increasing costs that have grown and grown and grown, and some kind of critical failures. Regardless, this aircraft is a true modern warrior, able to use smart systems to assess the battlefield and hopefully engage outside of visual range. It's very much about survivability and not getting into a dogfight position, which is why if you look at things like the F-22, which is designed to be able to really hold its own in a dogfight, the F-35 isn't, because it's not designed to fit that role in the same way. Or at least from the research that I've done on this anyway. In order for this to fit the wide range of roles that it has to fill, there are 3 variants of this. First up is the A-type. This is just a traditional conventional takeoff and landing, and it's what a lot of the international partners have built. You then have the B variant, and that's the one that Airfix has released today that we're going to be looking at. The B variant is short takeoff and vertical landing capabilities, and the C variant is the C variant. Is it seen what I did there? Yeah, so this version has foldable wingtips with a much enlarged sort of surface area to its wings, strengthened undercarriage, arrestor hook, and it's just able to do like the whole shebang, baby. This aircraft has been sold around the world, and I remember going to Florian Air Show with my dad when Belgium was looking at its new fighter competition between basically the F-35 and the Rafale, and we got like some free hats and stuff from the Rafale stand. But the F-35 ultimately was chosen by Belgium, and indeed it's been chosen by many other nations, and that includes a wide variety of nations from Finland, Poland, Japan, Canada, Norway, Korea, Switzerland. Like, this is like everywhere. This is the F-16 all over again. Oh yeah, and that's not to mention that there's like a separate version for Israel with their own avionics package sort of wedged in. That originally wasn't going to happen, but obviously it has in the end, which is like the F-35I. It's like this whole other beast. And I guess, yeah, that's the history of the F-35. Obviously the version we're looking at is British, and I'm really excited to build this kit. But before we do that, we'll need to have a look at the F-35 in gaming. So the F-35 being such a modern beast is not in the things we normally look at like War Thunder or IO2's Sturmovik. This is in some more traditional flight simulators and DCS. So the first thing we'll be looking at is Microsoft's Flight Simulator 2020. The footage you're seeing then is from Tactical Pascal and is made by India Foxtrot Echo. Whether you want to fly down the map fleet or cut over an airship with your friends, or just feel the sheer wonder of acting like a Top Gun ace, it's a brilliant play for you. And at €30, it's not really that expensive given the cost of some of the Microsoft packages. It is also worth saying that there is a version of this for P3D by IFE, which is like an updated FSX basically. I've not really looked at that though because I just wanted to look at MSFS 2020 because honey, that game is amazing, and if you've got Xbox Game Pass, it's free on PC and Xbox. Now, this aircraft is also in DCS. Unsurprising perhaps, given this is like the modern military flight simulator. Now, we're looking at footage here by Growling Sidewinder, and though it's getting smoked by the F-22 because, you know, dedicated dogfighter against an F-35, it's amazing that you can fly it in this incredible simulator. DCS is one of the most realistic military flight simulators around, and it has a really low entry fee. I mean, it's free to initially download, you just have to buy the modules for each aircraft afterwards. And hey, if you want to play the F-35, this might not be a bad place, but if you wanted to be more casual, maybe go for Flight Simulator. Now, I know there are going to be mods for a plethora of other games, but I think I just wanted to focus on these two. I mean, they're both the most modern flight simulators around, they look amazing and spectacular, and from what people have said, the flight models are pretty good. Right, we're now on to the Kitstory, and I'm so excited! So this kit was announced in January 2023 and has been released in Easter 2023. Not very long considering when it was announced. It's only been about like 4 months really, so really quick for that. It should be announced and released, and it's a fantastic addition to the Airfix range. I was really hoping to get my video out like the day I could get it, which would have been Thursday, but sadly I didn't get mine until Sunday, so it's going out on my usual Monday. So there are some other kits that do exist for the F-35. Obviously this is a massive aircraft, it's so hugely known across the world, so obviously other places have done it. So Adelyn have the C and the B variant, and Hasegawa has the A variant. Now it's worth mentioning these kits are sort of more traditional full model kits, I guess, whereas Airfix's rendition is a starter kit. In terms of what that means for you as a consumer, if you're looking for a long, complex build, the Adelyn and the Hasegawa kits may be more for you, but looking at their parts, they're not widely different in terms of their construction. Now, the starter sets are designed for more novice builders. They're designed to get you into the hobby and to help you build a subject and display it in a fantastic way. The Airfix kit also has a shadow stand for you to be able to display it in a flying position, or with an aircraft as dramatic as the F-35 being so extra as it is, you can have it in all sorts of wonderful positions. So they're really different from the sexy new release from Airfix. And to go with that, Airfix's part count is 42 parts. I couldn't quite see what all the part counts were for the other model kits that are in the range, but they do look significantly more. Bear in mind this has also got a stand included in the kit. I have done some of the starter kits before. Before I was actually doing YouTube, I bought the Best of British Airfix set, which was the Red Arrow Hawk and the Supermarine Spitfire. I did both of them, did a review on my website, because I just wasn't doing YouTube at the time. And I found them both an absolute pleasure to do, so I'm really excited to see if the F-35 measures up to the previous kits that I've done. Now, Airfix has released this kit in 3 different versions. They've released the F-35 on its own, you know, this little bad boy. They've also released a set known as Then and Now, which is the F-35 and a Spitfire. Then there is the Downbusters Anniversary set of 617 Squadron that has the F-35 and a Lancaster. I may have that one on pre-order. We're halfway through, guys, don't worry. Make sure you get yourself a cuppa. Let's get into the unboxing, and if you've made it this far, why don't you subscribe and we can carry on doing this together, yeah? But seriously, let's get into the unboxing of this F-35 from Airfix. And here we go, guys, the F-35B. Because it doesn't quite fit fully into my camera, so we're just gonna fold over the hanging section and look at the box as it is. This is, I imagine, what it'll probably look like if it ever came out as a non-starter, I guess. Now, this comes with a stand, it comes with paint, it comes with glue, and it's this really packed box, as you can see. Here's the 2 brushes you get a thicker brush and a thinner brush, and then you get these 6 paints and glue. You'll notice on the back of the box, if you do look at it, it says 164 twice. That's because you can get 2 pots of 164 apparently. Now, I actually decided pretty early on I wasn't going to use their paints, but still, we'll have a look at what else is inside the box. Love these little intro sheets in the starter sets that just tell you how to do everything sort of in the easiest way and what equipment you need to have to do this properly. Really lovely addition there. Now, this is the decal sheet, and you'll notice it has a cockpit transparency that someone's pointed out to me that actually you don't have in all of the starter sets, but
I haven't done enough of them to know. But the decals do look really, really nice for this set. Quite simple because, I mean, they are on modern fighters really anyway. Now, looking at the fuselage, look how gorgeous this is. The detail is really nice, and it really shows how much attention they put into this kit. This could have been a way more complicated kit, but it's a simple starter set that doesn't really compromise on the detail. Sure, there are probably sections that could have more detail, but realistically, you know, for a lot of people, this is going to be absolutely fine. I mean, for me, this is absolutely fine. I've always wanted to make this aircraft, but this is the perfect compromise of having a high quality kit with a low part count. Not having parts for the sake of parts, but you can see how well everything's been done. The mold is obviously brand new, so flash is going to be low to none on. And hey, even me dropping the parts isn't going to damage them. But you can see here on the sprues, some of them are a little bit shiny, maybe some mold release on there, but that's completely normal. It's not really going to affect you, especially if you prime it or if you do what you're meant to do and wash them, but you know, it's me and I'm very lazy. Now, there's the only 2 bits on the sprues that came off mine whilst I was actually making it, just because they were already bent over, but I guess that could just happen really. It doesn't have like an M sprue piece, but some of them have, but it does minimise the amount of contact points they have to have, so I think that's really a good thing. You can see a pilot is included in this, which I love to see. Pilots, I think, make aircraft, particularly in something as dramatic as this, that you can have in a VTOL pose, or short takeoff vertical landing pose, I guess I should say. And you can see how small he is as well. The instructions in this kit though are on another level, babes. Like, I was really impressed with these. So obviously you've got the sprues laid out in front of you here, but then once you go into the construction, you'll notice that on each part it tells you which bit and where on the sprue that is. It's like highlighted in black against the grey sprue. It tells you which bits you need to cut off on each bit, which you should definitely pay attention to. And it's so nice. Like, Airfix have nailed model kit instructions. Every single kit they do, regardless whether it's a starter set, should come with these type instructions because they are absolutely amazing. I mean, I'm pretty sure they do now. I can't really remember, but these are honestly the best instructions I have ever read. Whether I do something wrong will be my own fault, and we all know that I'll end up rushing and doing something wrong, but you know, these are phenomenal, and every single part is so well explained, so well executed, and you can tell they thought about the modeler, the novice modeler who's got to build this kit the entire way through. Also, love that the canopy is do not glue, because how many novice modelers get a foggy, misty canopy because they don't understand that, you know, using the poly cement actually causes them to fog up and goes all horrible. So that's awesome. Here's the clear part, and it's amazing. Can't wait to see how many scratch marks I put on it, but this is definitely like a 9 out of 10. It's near perfection.
And that's it for the unboxing. And one thing I'll say is, I've heard a lot of people unboxing this kit going, oh my god, it's so big. It's not. It's not that big. It doesn't feel that big anyway. Even like a starter set maybe, but like, it's a modern jet fighter, like, what? As expected though, there is very little in this kit in this way of parts, because this is a starter set. It's designed to be more simple, more easy for you guys to do. And with my skill level, it's just like an average model maker is perfect. Also, the stand, slay honey, you look amazing. I'm so excited. I did my old stands like black and I matted them down, so I thought a matte black stand looks really sexy. You know, like when you see like matte black, okay, you guys probably don't know matte black nail, but for those who know, you know. Anyway, I think we just need to get into it. Let's construct this, and then I'll come back and we'll do this all in one thing. So we'll go construct it, and then I'll let you know what I think.
Okay, so we're in construction, and I'm already worried because I know what's going to happen. But anyway, we're just starting this by using some ultra thin glue on here, and we're just gluing the front part, sort of the nose section of the aircraft, onto the sort of lower fuselage or fuselage wing assembly, like the main structure of the aircraft. I really like these sections. So these bits you put in the air intakes in, and you've got to put 3 basically vertical sections in, but they're so well aligned. Like, there's little points for the sides to fit into, and there's little runners at the bottom so you know where to slot it into. This is so perfectly engineered. Honestly, this is amazing. It makes it feel almost like a Lego set in a sense. I remember how satisfying this bit was when it just clicked into place. Honestly, I've never really been so impressed with a star set. I mean, I've done Airfix's old star sets, but this is like another level. I'm really absolutely astounded by the work they put into this. So in that note, I'm already going to apologise for what my end result will end up looking like, but you'll see. So we put the engine exhaust in there as well. Now that bit is important if you want to do the, I guess, the straight assembly more. So the one where it's like, you know, just straight taking off, straight landing. Whereas I'm going to do the sort of S-tol version, you know, where it's actually like hovering or going in for a landing, you know, whatever. That's the version I want to do because it looks so much more dramatic and extra, which we know I'm very good at, you know, doing. So I'm just cleaning up the parts because I've lost my sprue cutters. I'm not really sure where they've gone. So I cut all the parts off with a knife. So if there's any little bits you still see, I apologise. I did my best. And to be honest, a lot of people probably will end up using a craft knife. And I don't think it's that bad. I just, you know, once I've cut it off, I just run the edge along the side of the model and use it as almost like a, sort of like a cheese grater, I guess, in a sense, where you're just shaving off the extra layers. You're not pressing very hard, so you're shaving off the additional bits that shouldn't be there rather than the original bits, and it works quite fine. Now, gluing the two fuselage halves together, or the main component halves together, because my glue is the extra thin variety, I think my glue actually dried before I glued it all together. So some parts did stick really well and some bits didn't. It's definitely not the model, it was definitely me. So I basically just went around with my glue, put a little extra bit in, squeezed it together to make sure it bonded, and then moved on to the next section. And then you'll see me do this a couple of times now. It's not a big deal. This is definitely because of the glue. I should have just used my regular Revell bit for this section, to be perfectly honest, but I mean, I already had this glue out, so I was just going to carry on using it. It's quite a big model. It's two really big pieces, actually, that you're sticking together when you factor in the nose sections on there as well. So just, you know, maybe consider that if you are building this. But I imagine for a lot of people, you're going to be using the glue that comes with the kit. And if you're doing so, you know, just use a little bits of that glue. It'll go a very long way and it'll be absolutely fine. We're sticking in the vertical tail stabilizer sections now, and these align really easily. They're sort of angled naturally, as long as you get them in the right way, and they just sit on the little, I guess, little podium bits that stick out really easily. It looks lovely. See it flying off there. Now we're building the sort of afterburner area now. Now you can see I've done the angled version because I am doing the one that's like hovering, as I said earlier on. This is now the sort of actual exhaust section, and it's got some little sprue markers inside, I guess, to, you know, make sure it molds fully. So you just gotta like cut them out. You can probably poke them out with your finger, to be fair, but obviously I just made sure that I cut them all out. Now I actually screwed up on this bit because there's one little bit that holds the exhaust in place, like a little marker, and I cut off what I thought was the marker but actually was part of the sprue, so I just had to sort of freehand it, and it's fine. Like, if you do it, it's not a big worry. On most of the kit, if you do that, it doesn't really matter too much. I did unfortunately cut off a sort of marker, or I guess an extra leg on the a piece here, which did sort of screw me over a little bit. So I look like I'm putting it in for the fan, but it's not actually for the fan. I'm actually meant to be doing the undercarriage here. This is where I, you know, just got so focused, stopped looking at the instructions like an idiot, and I cut off a really long sort of leg that goes into the well of the undercarriage. And if you don't cut that off, it fits in really nicely, because on the other side, as you can see on the mat there, it's got these really long legs that just reach into their pre-allocated holes, and it just fits sublimely. Whereas on the other bit, there's actually not that much for it to stick to. This is, again, completely my fault, user error, because I was just actually really amazed by the kit, and I just got so absorbed by it that I just stopped paying attention and didn't think about the fact that it could just be a leg to hold it in place, where it, you know, already been done on the part where the thrust vectoring nozzle is. You know, I've already done two of them, but I didn't think about that. Either way, I did manage to get it on. I knocked it off later on in assembly and painting, but that's absolutely fine. We still managed to survive and thrive, so it's all good. We've then done it on this bit, which is, I think, an event and like the exhaust for where the air's getting pushed out by that large central lift fan as well. Now after that is a case of putting the undercarriage in place, and the undercarriage is so nice in this. Undercarriage is a pet peeve of mine because there's so many nice kits that are ruined by absolutely atrociously weak undercarriage. You know, think of the Alpha Jets that I've built before that I've always complained about either on YouTube or on my website. Whereas the F-35's undercarriage I think is fantastic because it's good for novices. They're not gonna accidentally break it. I mean, you could accidentally break it, but you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna glue it in place, put it down, and it's just gonna snap. You're not gonna have to wait as long. I actually tested this by just turning it over almost immediately, putting it onto my desk. I was like, wow, this already stands. I didn't leave it there for too long. I wanted to obviously make sure it fully dries and, you know, bonds, but it's really, really good, honestly. It's a really sturdy undercarriage, and for a plane this size, I think that's quite good, especially because you might get younger people making this who have less experience in any sort of crafts, I guess, and you want to make sure that it's a bit more robust for them, and that's really, really good. Plus, I guess this is meant to be quite a robust fighter, so, you know, it probably should be. Now we're on top again, and we're just fitting in the sort of final pieces now. So again, this is for the left fan. There's two sections we have to put in here on the rear, and then there's one large piece in the front that you're seeing me do here. And that is actually two bits stuck together. Unfortunately, I kind of did that slightly off camera, but you can see me wedging it in place. Now, I actually, when I was doing the painting and decaling, snapped this off by accident, but it's really easy to glue back in place. So if you do that, don't panic, take your time. I like literally wedged a paint pot in front of it and just held it in place whilst the glue cured again, and it was absolutely fine. You can see me just popping the stand together here. The stand is just two pieces, so really nice and simple. And that's it, pretty much. I know I've not done the cockpit because I'm doing that right at the end. It's just got to have a seat and pilot and then glass on. But oh my god, look how cute she is. Yes! But we now need to go on to the painting. As I stated, I am not using the paints that came with the kit, I'm using my own. And for the base, I didn't actually bother undercoating it because I knew I was just doing a matte black, and I figured I'll just go straight in with the life color matte black. And you can see this is after, I think, 2 layers pretty much that I've done this. I did a couple of layers just to make sure it got a really nice full matte black finish. I love matte black on the stands for the starter kits, I think they look amazing. And then I was like, hey, I'll airbrush this kit. Now, I was doing this quite late at night, and yeah, I mixed the paint myself. So this is just a black with some, I think probably a little bit of blue, and then I put some red in to balance it out to get sort of the darker, warmer shade that, you know, matches the paint pot that I had. However, when I went to actually airbrush it, my airbrush was like, no. And I had actually tested my airbrush a couple of days before and then thoroughly cleaned it, and it worked absolutely fine. So not sure what happened, but I was just like, you know what, it's too late at night for this. I really cannot be bothered to fully disassemble my airbrush and clean it and spend an hour faffing on that when I could just be painting this. So I went, you know what, screw it, I've mixed the paint, I'm just gonna hand paint it. Because there was a lot of airbrush thinner in this anyway, it probably wasn't drying exactly the way it should. It was reactivating a little bit, and you can see that I'm just doing layers and layers and layers, and it's lots and lots and lots of really thin layers. When I say these are thin, these are sheer layers, like you're putting on a lip gloss basically rather than lipstick. It's that sort of style, which I'm sure for my demographic definitely is something you understand, right? But yeah, either way, I did a lot of layers. I eventually got there. You can see the detail is still all there, but because of sort of the tacky, glossy nature of it, it looks thicker than it is. And you'll notice on sort of where I'm holding it, it will get some little lumps and bumps, which I do sand off and then sort of smooth out later, so don't worry about it too much. But yeah, I'm aware that I probably should have just used the paint that was included when my airbrush didn't work. But you know, you live and you learn. The end result, I think, looks absolutely fine. It's just, it didn't look great during sort of the initial painting phase, but I think I got a really good colour. And hey, I learned to mix paints today, which I've never practiced any colour theory before, and I mixed white, black, blue and red to get what I think is actually a pretty good match. Considering I've done it all by eye, I don't think it's too bad. All the other components were painted in a silver, and then I used, again, Life Colours matte black. All the paints on this are pretty much Life Colour except the silver and some of the washes that I use later on. Now, the matte black is amazing. It's just super matte and absorbent. It just looks really, really nice. And for the silver parts, I thought they looked too nice. So what I did is I got the Life Colour black and I really watered it down, used as little as possible on my brush. I actually wiped a lot of it on my hand and then dabbed a little bit in, and then I just smothered it around to give it like a little wash. Later on I will go over with a non-oil wash from Citadel, the Games Workshop paints, and then I also went over some sections with a sort of their light grey wash as well, but we'll see that later. On the exhaust section as well, I did go over in a couple of different colours. Not sure if I recorded all of it, but it was basically I went over with like a little bronze, and then I went over with a black wash, and then I went over it again with a non-oil wash, and I got a bit more of a dirty, heavier look to it than just sort of a sheer metallic look. It's got like a gunmetal look with the paints that come with it, but I wanted sort of more, I guess, of a dynamic look. Now, what I'm doing now is going over some of the panel lines in fairly thick light grey lines, because looking online at some of the weathering on F-35s, this seemed to be it, and I was not confident on this. I thought, great, I've ruined this, and because I was using my original paint wash to make sure it was just a lighter shade of that, I just put some white in. I was like, if I do this wrong, it's going to ruin it, and I was really nervous because I'm deliberately overpainting it to make sure that it does look like it's bled a little bit, and in some sections I'm like tapping it down with my finger to make sure that it's not, you know, too vibrant and it looks like it has gone into sort of the porous material a little bit. You can see here that I put too much on, so I wipe it all off onto my hand, and then I just use the tiny little bit that's on the model to just finish it off and drag it out. And I do try and match this on both sides, make sure it does look similar, and I do a little bit on the nose on the front as well. Nose on the front bit I'm not too sold on. I saw a couple of pictures with it. Mine I think looks kind of bad, but again, this is user error, and I've never ever done really a modern fighter. The most modern I've done is a BAE Hawk, but I did mine, well, all three of mine in display team colours, so I don't do the same sort of weathering or patterns that this has. So I'm glad I've done it, and I think I would prefer to do it on one which has like just a black wash on it. But you know, you live and you learn, and I feel more confident doing this if I have to do another one. It doesn't look too bad, I think, once I put everything on. The rear sections and sort of the front as well, I just put on a line of paint and then just got some water, rubbed it over, and just made it look really bled out. And I think once I put like another light wash on front of it, on top of it, it doesn't look too bad. I'm not entirely sold. Again, it's about making it not look, you know, not too neat, but not too messy either. I don't know. The decals are all really good though. Because these are like hollow donuts rather than like a solid roundel, I did find they like slipped a lot, because I always put mine on just with my brush. I hate transferring them from the paper, I find it really fiddly. So I found that because these are like donuts, they do fold on themselves quite easily, and a lot of them sort of felt like that because they are quite delicate parts. Particularly like this, I know it's out of focus, it'll go in focus in a moment, but this is like the lightning on the back, and this is very delicate. Like, I don't mean delicate like it's gonna rip, because I was not really gentle with it. I mean delicate in the sense that you could really easily fold this on itself if you were trying to hold it in another way. So I actually opted just to transfer it straight from the decal sheet, which is unusual for me. But yeah, I think once all the decals were on, which there weren't many of, we were ready to show this kit off.
Okay, so construction of this kit is pretty easy, honestly. It's again, it's a starter set. I don't know why I'm like acting surprised. It's a starter set. It's designed to be easy, and for that reason, it really fulfills its purpose. It's really great for that. This kit like nails everything it needs to do. It's got fantastic detail. It's really easy to assemble, and it takes no time at all. I've sat here one weekend and just done it, and I've so enjoyed it. Like, it's so good. So I think we just need to go have a look at this aircraft popping off.
What's on your mind? Seems like you feel it starts to fade out. The diamonds in your eyes, do they wanna let go? Wanna let go? Right here and now, we cannot spin around it no more. So let me hear you out. Do you wanna let go? Wanna let go? Kill the silence. Are we meant for each other? Stand and fight it. Say if you wanna let go. Wanna let go. What's on your mind? I was in London when you called last night. The city told me lies that you wanna let go. Just hear me out. You're not the only one here with doubts. Oh, so just speak your mind. Do you wanna let go? Wanna let go? Kill the silence. Are we meant for each other? Stand and fight it. Say if you wanna let go. Wanna let go? Kill the silence. Are we meant for each other? Stand and fight it. Say if you wanna let go. Wanna let go. Wanna let go. Wanna let go.
I'm not having else to say yet. Let's get into Lvly. So this aircraft has just come out, and on Airfix's site it's £19.99, and that's £29.99 if you're buying the Supermarine Spitfire and F-35 sort of double set, the then and now set. Now this is more expensive than some other kits. Bear in mind the starter set for the Supermarine Spitfire 5C is £11.99, so it is £8 more, but this is a bigger aircraft. It's gonna cost more. And it really is quite interesting how they've managed to get, you know, the capability for you to just fly it with sort of a hovering position, well, sort of hover landing, I guess, vertical landing, and also in sort of a conventional fly mode, or I guess conventional landing. It's a really cool kit. It does come with all the paints. I've obviously chosen not to use my paints, and that's just preference. As someone who is more experienced but still an office modeler, I do have a lot of paints around, and I just wanted to try some new things out, as I'm always trying to do on this channel, always trying to improve, slay honey. But, you know, sometimes it goes right, sometimes it doesn't. But honestly, Airfix, slay. You nailed it with this kit. I am absolutely impressed. To the point where I was sort of, originally I ordered both and I was like, yeah, you know, I should do them for the channel, but I don't know if I'll end up building both of them, and I've actually got Decals to do an Italian variant of this when I get the Dambusters Special Edition one, because from what I can tell it's the same markings anyway. So I can do an Italian one for that one, and then I can do like the Dambusters set, and it's gonna be a whole thing. So excited. I rarely build the same model like twice in quite quick succession, so the fact that I am doing it does say a lot about the quality of this kit. Genuinely, I'm really impressed. Is it going to be one for people who are more experienced? I don't know, maybe not. Maybe you're not going to be into this kit because it's too simple, and that's okay. I know there's this whole thing in the model community of like assemblers versus modelers, but if you're putting something together, whether it's 2 parts or it's 100 parts, I don't give a shit, you're a modeler. And quite frankly, if this is what you prefer to do, like me, sometimes you just want something a bit more simple, a bit more chill, a bit more of a vibe, then by all means this kit is absolutely amazing. And if you're a bit more hesitant and you think, oh, the part count's going to be too low, it's not going to be, you know, super quality, buy this kit and try it. I guess that's the only downside of the starter sets, is they do only come with one decal option. So if you are wanting to build a different variant, like the Italian variant, you're going to have to source the decals for yourself. But I mean, I did that and it wasn't really that expensive, so... But again, that depends on your budget. But bang for the buck, I think this is worth the money. 20 quid isn't really that high for model kits these days, and particularly if you're buying the Supermarine Spitfire and the F-35 together. But I'm someone who quite often will buy old kits that cost way more than this, so my sense of value is very different, I think, to a lot of people's. It's still quite budget friendly though, so I can wholeheartedly say it. Buy this kit, it's fantastic. And to make this all really clear, I bought this kit with my own money, I can say whatever the hell I want about it, and I always try and be as honest as I can about any flaws with the kit, or any difficulties that I've had, as I've done in the construction part of this video. I know like sometimes people think, oh yeah, well you probably got to send this for free or whatever, but no, I definitely don't. Like, I am a tiny channel, I'm not important, and I don't want to ever have to feel like I can't give an honest opinion on a product, because ultimately people sometimes make decisions based off videos they've seen. It may only be a couple of people, but I want those couple of people to have the most genuine experience and feedback that they can, and I think that's really important. So I've tried to be as honest as I can about this kit for you today. Well, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I know this has probably been quite a long video because mine always are, because I do everything from history to unboxing to construction, but I really do appreciate it. As usual, if you do want to support the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and leave a comment below. Are you getting this kit, or is there another starter set you're more keen for? If you do want to support the channel, you can do so in a multitude of ways, whether that's through a super chat or joining a membership on YouTube, where you'll get like custom emotes and you can get a shout out if you're doing the higher tier. But you can also support me on Ko-fi, which you can do as a one-off donation, or you can do it as, you know, a monthly rolling donation. And like I say every video, only do it if it's right for you. I'm going to be making these videos anyway. I love making these videos and interacting with you guys, and I only want you to support the channel if it's financially sensible and viable for you. Well guys, thank you so much for joining me. I've had a wonderful time, and I hope you have too. And I'm dying to see your pics of the F-35, so let me know on Facebook and Twitter when you build them, and well, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Thank you to all of my channel members, you really help keep the channel going. Advanced kits do get a shout out, so we've got Sophie Mrs. Time Lord, Iron Duke, 50s Bin Man, Crazy Loacher, and Explosive Water. Thank you so much for all helping to support the channel and make sure that I can buy new paints, which I've been doing so to invest back in the channel. You guys are absolutely amazing. And I don't care what level you are, you guys rock. If you enjoyed this video, as I say, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and there's a recommended video here that I think you should check out. Ooh, it's been chosen specially for you. Right, you hit the link, I'll grab the snacks, let's go watch this video together.